dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same, and now here it is. Or should I say, I am. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And it's heartening to see so many strange new faces here today. My name is Shahir Dowd.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically our 2018 top 10 films of last year.
Yeah, it's 2019. Also, the way you said top just reminded me so much of The Departed.
What, top?
Yeah, the way you said top.
I don't think, did I say top?
You said top.
No, I don't know.
It's very Boston.
Yeah, well, sometimes it slips out. When I'm morning drunk.
Morning drunk, nice. A little bit of whiskey in the coffee this morning.
No, just the fact that I was up very, very late. But that just, it'll add to the whiz bag of the episode.
Welcome to the top 10. This one's been a long time coming. It is now February.
Some might say a whole year and some months.
Yeah, because last year we did extend it out a little bit, and I think we're going to be paying for that for every year from now on.
That is true.
So normally you would release your top 10 either in December or in January, but of course we don't like to do things the normal way, which is why we're going to do it in February. But that's just because we like to get in a couple of extra films to cram into our top 10, as did our listeners who will be chiming in later.
Yeah.
I received an email at 3 a.m. this morning from a listener.
A last minute sliding it in.
Yeah. So I'm very pleased with those. And this listener did say that they were just trying to get some extra movies in. So I hope they weren't staying up till 3 a.m. to watch a movie to make sure it was in their list.
I kind of hope they were. Yeah. That's due diligence.
That's due diligence. That's true. But Matt, it is now 2018 or 2019.
Yes, so we're going to be mixing that up all episode long.
Yeah, we are. But we have one email from a listener in response to our Separating Art from the Artist episode, which was a fantastic episode, which came out last week. I really enjoyed that conversation, as did Stephen, who wrote us in, and I've mentioned this before, but Stephen is from my hometown. I know Stephen personally, and this is about a piece of art that is in Wellington City, which is where I am from, and which is where I would probably be when this episode is being broadcast.
Oh yeah, you're going home.
Yeah. So
you're going home.
I'm going to be in two dimensions, so to speak. I'm here in New York at the time, and I'll be there in Wellington.
Wow.
Look at that, two of me. In Wellington, there is a bridge called the City to Sea Bridge, which Stephen included a link to, which is a very lovely bridge. I do remember this bridge. Stephen says, I've always liked this bridge. It was a functional work of art that made me feel good when I was there. It was my often go-to place for more artistic, good views of Wellington City. Then I did a story about how Para Matchett, one of the artists behind the bridge design, was charged with drugging and date raping a 29-year-old woman. Those charges were later dropped, but he spent 2.5 years in jail, convicted of sexually abusing a 15-year-old girl. Although he said the relationship was consensual. Now, I can't feel the same about the bridge. A place I once found creative and reflective feels unclean and conflicted, somehow made worse because of other people in that space, obviously enjoying it without knowing the context. It's the same uncomfortable feeling I have when a children's school shows have kids bumping and grinding to a Michael Jackson tribute. The kids only know the music, the parents know the context, and the teachers, what were they thinking? Context changes everything. In my work, I meet a lot of artists in many fields. Some are pleasant and some are dicks. I find it much harder to cut someone else's work or art some slack if they personally are a dick to me. So I think Stephen's pointing out a few things there, which is that personal context matters. If you meet, have you ever had this experience where a person whose art you love, you meet that person and they're not a very pleasant person, and does it change your whether consciously, like, I'm not going to watch this person's work anymore, or just unconsciously, when you're watching that person, you're like, oh yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Multiple times, honestly, in professional settings too, when you're excited to get to work with someone who you've seen their stuff, and you're like, oh wow, this is something special. They really know their stuff, and then they're a huge turd. Yeah, it's disappointing, and it's never a good feeling. Of course, what he's describing, especially, I mean, we only deal with media, right? When we're talking about the art versus the artist, but fuck, man, you want to get into architecture and like city planning based on people that are shitheads? Yeah. Like, we wouldn't be able to live anywhere. There's a lot that what I'm saying is there's so many
Well, I guess I see architecture as an art form as well.
I
right?
do too. I'm saying we normally in our purview of this show normally only discuss sort of media or films in
Right.
particular. I'm saying when we open the conversation of, and it should be, but I'm just saying when that conversation opens from art versus artist into things that literally you step on in your life, like on a regular daily basis.
Yeah.
History is a terrifying nightmare.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I think is that's interesting about this space that Stephen's mentioning is it's a public space, and for a lot of people who commute, you have to walk through it
Yeah.
to get to your place of business or whatever. So it's a place that you kind of have to deal with on a daily basis. And if you do know the context, it kind of changes the way you feel about it.
Sure.
It's much in the same way that I think recently, for example, there was a library at USC that was named after Bryan Singer, and the students petitioned to have.
Really?
Yeah. No, well, because Bryan Singer is a prestigious alumni of USC. And the students have petitioned to have Bryan Singer's name removed, and Bryan Singer himself agreed to have it removed. He felt that it would.
Oh, what a nice guy!
It would be distracting to the students. There's also a recent story about how Bryan Singer stands to make about $40 million from Bohemian Rhapsody. So take that with what you will.
Yeah.
Moving on from not so.
He'll make about $2 million from Red Sonja.
$10 million.
He's getting paid $10 million to make Red Sonja?
Okay, so let's sidetrack onto Bryan Singer for a second. We obviously discussed him at some length. At some length in our Bohemian Rhapsody episode. But interestingly, there was a major article from the Atlantic about all of his. All of the things he has done, but that did not deter the producers of Red Sonja from agreeing to his hire for Red Sonja. And I believe the producer said something along the lines that he is a tremendous artist and Bohemian Rhapsody made a lot of money, and therefore it's a no-brainer for him. It's interesting because the question I have from that, in terms of that is whatever it is, that's people making business decisions, whatever. The question I have is, and my wife and I were talking about this, was if you're a technician, a craftsperson of some kind, say you're an art department, stagehand, or you're you work in crafty or something like that.
Sure.
Would you take that job if that job was offered to you?
Depends how hard up you were, and it depends on your moral level of enragement, or and there's a lot of different factors.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting question, because now as the general public, and I think this is why the question of art versus artist is really interesting and powerful, is that now you can make a choice, but of course economically you might not be able to make that choice. If you're a person who's offered a job, working on this film, you might just have to do that job because that is what is offered to you. Interestingly, then I think people who have a little bit more economic flexibility, such as actors or what have you, might have a different calculus of choice.
Which I would imagine the producer in the studio would. I think I'm not. We've seen Singer's movies. We know he can direct a film. That's never been in question. Do I think that he is the only visionary genius that could bring the brilliant light of Red Sonja to life? No. So I just think they're locked in, and they're locked in.
There was one quote that I forgot to mention during the Bohemian Rhapsody episode, but it was Graham King, who was the producer of Bohemian Rhapsody, who'd spent years toiling to get that movie made. And he outwardly said, "Look, I know Bryan Singer has issues around him, but I will never forget that Bryan Singer is the reason that movie got made," which is an interesting economic factor in that having a name director with accolades behind them and a success rate, which is being proven true with Bohemian Rhapsody, which is making a ton of money. Does that outweigh your moral obligation as a human being?
Apparently so.
Apparently so. So it's an interesting one. Yeah.
Go back and listen to our Art versus Artist from last week for more on this topic with the lovely folks from Your Fave is Problematic.
Yeah. But moving on, it is time for our top 10 of the year. Matt, we've had sort of fluctuating, undulating ground rules about this over the years.
You have.
You've broken them as well.
Yeah, but then I admitted it and went back. You've just stood your ground.
Well, what have I not admitted? Breaking...
No, I changed my answers. You doubled down on the fact that you need like 3 top 3s or what. I don't remember the thing it was.
I don't think I ever did that. I think my thing was that I feel that the list is arbitrary, and all I said,
that's
which
right.
which seemed to offend you to
right.
no end for some reason, was that these choices are arbitrary and they could switch around. I don't know. I don't see what's problematic with that.
Well, I think I remember this whole argument now, and I love that we get to have it over and over every year.
Yeah.
My thing is, if we're doing a top 10, we deserve not even we deserve. The people who take the time to listen to us deserve.
Yeah.
If we're saying we're doing a top 10 list, that these need to be like a definitive for us top 10. And I think that the fact where you're like, whatever, I'm just going to put these wherever because they could go anywhere, defeats the purpose, and therefore is like, well, that's kind of cheap.
But is that what I said?
Yeah.
No, what I said was, this is the place I'm putting it, but it could easily be in other places.
Right, but don't you get how that completely destroys the exercise?
But don't you get how the exercise is arbitrary anyway?
Yes, but don't you get that we're doing the arbitrary exercise?
But don't you get that we're having the same argument that we had last year?
And they love it every time. This is what gets the people going.
Yeah, ball so hard. But what are the ground rules? If they
the ground rules are we make a top 10 list.
Yeah.
And we go from 10 to 1. We go as the episode goes. Also, it can only be films that we've reviewed on the show.
Yeah.
Which, it's funny. So this year, I was trying to I was doing my my in memoriam of films that I watched.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, 90% of them that are worth talking about, we did on the show.
Right.
Which other years I feel like I'd seen other ones where I was like, oh, I wish I could have done this, but we were good little reviewers this year.
I think there was a fairly strong consensus on what the films of the year are. And also that's in terms of the films that people sent us in as their top 10s.
Yes.
They're fairly consistent across the board this year. No major outliers. So I think that may be a trend of this year, which is that I think we're coming into consensus of what the films of the year are, right? And that might just be because we've extended it out into February, and that list is kind of crystallizing for a lot of people.
Sure.
But that is one of my questions. What do you think the trends are of 2018? What do you think has been?
Well, I was trying to think. One of the trends, which I'm thoroughly enjoying, is the seeming death of the extended universes. Now, Marvel's isn't going anywhere.
Right.
It's going to continue for a while unless they don't stick the landings of Avengers Endgame, and then we'll see what happens. But, so many shared universes are either off the books now or just crumbling.
Right.
DC.
Well, that's the only other one, right?
Well, that's the other one. But then, like Dark Universe, they were trying to get off the ground.
That's coming back, by the way.
It won't work.
What? Really?
Yeah. I don't think I've said this before in the podcast. I think culturally, there's only room for one sort of expanding shared universe. I think people you get that sort of itch off of them through that,
right? And
then go to other films for other experiences that Marvel definitely doesn't give them. I feel like until there's a dueling shared universe as deep as Marvel, I don't know if there's even in like the marketing budget and the space that we have in our brains to hear about films.
Yeah,
like it just doesn't. I almost think there's just not enough room. So you have the DC EU, which is like happening, but now they're doing like time splitting stuff, so it doesn't even matter. So it's not really an extended universe. You have the Dark Universe, which apparently is coming back. Great,
which is being shepherded by Jason Blum now.
Okay, well,
and Blumhouse is kind of taking the reins.
So are they getting rid of the Mummy, and they're getting rid of the first Dracula movie, and they're getting rid of?
Well, they never did any of those, so they only did.
Yeah, they did the first Dracula.
But they weren't part of the Dark Universe.
Dracula Untold didn't have the front cover thing on it, but it was always meant to be the first one, and then when that one bombed, they just kind of shelved it off to the side.
So. The Mummy was the first official
with the logo of the Dark World.
Yeah. So I think I'm not sure if they're abandoning that, but they've definitely moving away from there's that famous cast photo that they have with Javier Bardem, Johnny Depp, and Tom Cruise. I think they're moving away from that, but they're still doing the banner of the Dark Universe. Lee Wannell has been brought in to direct it. Who directed
all of them?
He's directing I believe it's The Invisible Man is the first one that he's doing. And he directed Upgrade this year,
Yep.
and he was one half of the Saw team. So I'm not exactly sure, but it's certainly, they're still punching for that dark universe.
Transformers is recalibrating itself.
Yeah.
But they don't even know. The Transformers didn't even know when they made Bumblebee what Transformers was going to turn into, or what it was like. Is it a reboot, a sequel, a prequel?
That's not really a shared universe, though, is it? That's like a single franchise.
The idea was always to have the Hasbro shared universe, and it never coagulated because they couldn't get the Transformers thing solid enough.
What would it share it with?
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe is going to be part of
Transformers? They have a long history in the comic books to have G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover. And then, of course, which this is a weirdly interesting one, too, which I would never call this a shared universe, kind of until the Fantastic Beast films.
Okay.
But Harry Potter, Warner Brothers has been trying to, after the series proper ended with Fantastic Beasts now, and the second one, which the first one did great, the second one is making okay money, but definitely not Harry Potter money. And now I think they originally had 5 films for this, and now it's slated to wrap it up in one more.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think again, I will be interested to see if my prediction stands true, but I think this was the year of the beginning of the end of most shared universes.
Okay.
What about you? What themes?
I would say 2018 was brought to you by the letter B, for one, which was that a lot of B movies a lot of movies starting with the letter B came out.
Not B, like
no,
in like
a lot
schlock.
of like If Beale Street Could Talk, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Burning. I had a few more of these here. Bandersnatch, which we reviewed. I just saw a lot of B movies, but I think for me the interesting trend that was of note in popular cinema was the prevalence of the anti-narrative film. So films that were decidedly unsatisfying, but purposely unsatisfying. And the two that I point to there is You Were Never Really Here and Burning. I also think the Ballad of Buster Scruggs did that as well.
For like 60% of it.
Yeah, and I think so. There was an interesting trend where filmmakers, I believe, and even to an extent. No, First Man doesn't quite do this, but First Man kind of felt like that a little bit as well. But I think
he makes it to the moon.
No, he makes it to the moon, but there's right, without spoilers for First Man. I think to me that was just sort of an interesting trend to note, and for me the strongest one of that was You Were Never Really Here, which goes out of its way to be anti-traditional narrative, which is that it structures itself around not giving you the satisfaction of the things you would think you would want. And there were a couple other films like that this year. So that was sort of an interesting note for me, just to looking through and seeing what I could see. There's also the rise of, I think we've sort of talked about this every couple of years, but Netflix. Netflix and Amazon Prime are now major players in the award season, major buyers. I think they're going to continue to be major holders of popular film now.
Netflix spent around $8 billion on their content this year, and they beat HBO in Emmy noms. They got 112.
Yeah, and they may be gunning towards their first Best Picture nom this year. Best Picture win.
Yeah.
And also, I think next year Apple TV will come out, which has $1 billion spend as well.
What do you mean Apple TV will come out?
Apple is launching a TV network. And so they're producing content now as well, and they may move into the movie space as well. So Sundance just happened, and there was a lot of buyers there.
And Disney, can't forget Disney streaming that's going to come and disrupt the cycle.
Yeah, so the distribution models are all changing. Theaters are pissed off, as they always will be, and we will see how that plays out in 2019. Matt, my second question for you before we jump into our top 10. What was the favorite film? I mean, you've kind of already answered this, but what were the favorite things you saw that we didn't review that were...
There wasn't a ton,
right.
But I will say both, although these might have come out. Nope, these might have been in 2019. Never mind. I was going to say the Fry documentaries.
The Fire documentary?
Oh, yeah, I keep saying Fry. I always call it Fry Festival. I don't know why. The Fire documentaries.
Yeah.
Both of them were so different from one another and so interesting.
So problematic in each their own ways. I haven't watched the Hulu one. I've watched the Netflix one.
Yeah.
But
it's funny. The Hulu one will, I think, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but the Hulu one will fix all of the problems you have with the Netflix one while having its own gaping problems that the Netflix one fixes. Like in the narrative live in your brain.
Right.
It's very strange to see two dueling documentaries with two different tones and two different sort of points of view.
Right.
Which I found The Exercise great. But if I did have to, nope, this was in 2019 too.
What was that?
I was gonna say, I think again, Escape Room.
Right. You keep coming back to Escape Room.
It was fun and stupid and fun.
But is it worth like having a conversation about?
I mean, it's worth. No, but what it is worth is seeing. I mean,
Right.
I don't think you have to have a deep philosophical or even any sort of meaningful conversation. Although I did have a 45-minute conversation with a great friend of the show, Chelsea Whites, during our walk back from the theater.
Right.
We talked about like what happened and how we enjoyed it. And, like, what about this plot hole and like all that. Like, I don't think it's worth deconstructing. But it definitely, you know, if you're with like-minded people who enjoy just fun, irreverent cinema, like, yeah,
So that's not me, obviously.
you would hate it.
Really?
You would hate that movie so hard
Why would I hate it?
because it says nothing.
I don't think I hate movies that say nothing. I hate movies that don't know what they're saying.
This movie knows it's saying nothing.
Okay. So
You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
All right, I'm gonna bank that for later. What about you? What about what?
The two movies that came out last year that I well, actually there's four. Well, I'm looking at it now. 4 movies that came out last year that I wished we'd reviewed, but we didn't, and would have definitely been contenders on my top 10 list were The Kindergarten Teacher, which is on Netflix. Very little seen film, but starring Maggie Gyllenhaal about a kindergarten teacher in Long Island, I believe, or Staten Island, who takes a particular shine to a child in her class. And it slowly goes off the rails from there. It's an extraordinary film with an extraordinary performance from a young child. And Tully. I absolutely loved Tully, which came out sort of mid-year, with Charlize Theron playing a mother who is overwhelmed by the birth of their third child. Directed by Jason Reitman, who is now going to be doing the Ghostbusters reboot next.
Official reboot?
Yeah, their official reboot.
Okay.
Jason Reitman is also the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original Ghostbusters.
Nice.
And Tully kind of blew my mind because Jason Reitman, the last Jason Reitman movie I saw of his was Labor Day, which I wasn't a big fan of.
That's not in the
no,
holiday.
It's not the
series.
holiday series. It's not Valentine's Day. It's got Josh Brolin
or
and
New
Kate
Year's Eve.
No, it's not that. I forget the director who did that. They do a great impression of him on Comedy Bang Bang. I keep forgetting his name. He came up on Happy Days. Someone can write us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com with your Comedy Bang Bang info. But Tully really blew my mind. In terms of, I just was not expecting it to be that good. It really, really is terrific. And then I spoke about it on our Separating Art from the Artist review, but Nanette, I think, is one of the most incredible pieces of the incredible stand-ups I've seen this year.
Yeah, but that's not a movie.
I was going to have that conversation when if we ever got to review it, because I do think stand-ups can be movies. And I think...
Well... Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Keep going.
that is a broader conversation, and it's one I'm sort of 50-50 on.
Okay.
But Nanette was, I think, one of the most singular important experiences I'd had this year.
It's weird. I would have put that in one of your coming up questions about the best TV you watched this year. Which again, I would say that comedy stand-up specials are closer to TV shows than they are films, considering they are not normally the length of a film nor ever released in a theater.
They can be the length of the film, and I have seen stand-up specials in theaters.
Yeah, but like from like Fathom special events and things. It's
No,
not
I've
like,
seen I remember Eddie Murphy's.
Kevin Hart did one too,
yeah,
but like
Kevin
they
Hart's
also
played
do like actual film pieces sort of around it.
Right. It's an open question.
I love Nanette. I think Nanette was amazing. It is not a film, especially from the criteria that you've said things weren't. Told me Jurassic World wasn't a film.
That's more a philosophical question about it not being a film. That's not a technical question.
So you're using philosophical as a cipher for just like however you feel about it.
Yeah, I guess the way I'm phrasing Jurassic World is I don't think it functions very well.
Right, but it's still a film. That was my whole thing.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't have to-
Is that what you need that to semantically understand that argument?
Well, I think if you said which of these is a film, Jurassic World or the stand-up special Nanette, most people in the world would say Jurassic World is a film.
Okay.
So I'm going off of what I assume the majority is.
Okay. All right. I think it's an interesting question. And then the other one was First Reformed.
Ooh, what's that?
Paul Schrader's film.
I'm not familiar.
Ethan Hawke playing a priest.
Okay.
Who loses his faith. Set in upstate New York. It was touted very highly to be an Oscar nom for Ethan Hawke, and
It was good?
it's very good. It's very, very good. Paul Schrader is someone who's kind of been making, I would say, B and C movies for a long time, but is obviously an incredibly talented man.
Not just the naming convention of the film.
Yeah. He's just an incredibly, incredibly talented human being. He wrote Taxi Driver famously, and Mimishima. The Japanese 4-part symphony. He's an extraordinary writer. He wrote this book that I haven't read yet, but Transcendentalism in Film.
Transcendentalism?
No,
Wow, no, let's do it. We got it. We can do it.
Transcendentalism?
Transcendentalism. That's what it is. You win.
Transcendentalism, yeah, in film. So First Reformed was extraordinary and kind of, it was a lot of people were very surprised that didn't get an Oscar nom this year. So those were my picks of things to see.
And your other questions that I just wanted to, we don't have to go on it at all for long. Actually, no, even before that, I would like, so the movies that I missed this year, I missed Crazy Rich Asians.
Yep, I saw that.
I missed it. I wanted to see it real bad. Old Man with a Gun.
Yep.
Missed that. The Hate You Bring. I really wanted to see that. I never got to see that. Incredibles 2, Aquaman, and Bumblebee. All things I was like pseudo interested in seeing. Didn't see them.
Yeah. Those are factors of time, though, right? Like it's not like you were out of your way missing.
No. It's just those are the films I did not get to.
Right.
And of course, thanks to the miracle of technology, I can go back and see every one of those.
Yeah.
But I was sad. I was sad to have not caught those.
Okay. The thing I think I'm most sad to have not. Ooh, I had that written down, but I don't have it in front of me now. There's probably a bunch of films I didn't see this year. I think Private Life on Netflix is one that the Tamara Jenkins film, which I haven't seen. And The Hate You Give, I really wanted to see. Blind Spotting is another one that I didn't see that I really, really wanted to see. There's probably a bunch of things that our listeners will call out that I haven't seen yet.
And the last thing was, at least on your list, as far as I remember, is TV shows, best TV stuff.
Yeah, what was the best TV stuff that you saw, or best episodic?
Yeah, I would say for your comedy and your feels, Good Place season 4 and Superstore season 4.
Oh yeah,
I
watched Superstore season 1 this year.
They are a delight. For different reasons.
Yeah, Good Place. I really, really like it. I found once they did the switch in season 2. There was something in my brain that got a little tired in terms of like, oh, we're gonna do this all again now. You know what I mean? And I know it's good. I've heard it's great. I just have to get over that hump in my brain.
Yeah, I think once you hit season 3, you'll be A-okay.
Yeah.
Westworld season 2, I dug a lot.
Was that this year?
Yeah, early.
Oh wow.
It was April or May or March. Sharp Objects, I'm still in the middle of, but ooh, that's good. End of the Fucking World.
Yep.
On Netflix.
Yep, I've seen 2 episodes of that.
And also Marvelous Miss Maisel season 2 and Glow season 2 were phenomenal. And then final shout out to something that turned a frown upside down.
Yeah.
Castlevania season 2 on Netflix, the anime, which is done all in Adobe Animate.
Okay.
Which is insane to me. It's basically like a Flash animation.
Right.
That series had the first season was 4 episodes, and it was fine. And then they took it and they just like made it like intriguing and ran with it.
Yeah.
And it has a definitive ending, and it's like it's I don't know. It was very, very good.
I mean, I'm so far behind that I still haven't watched Cowboy Bebop yet, so
definitely watch Bebop first.
I might be a little bit far behind, but I'm curious to check it out. I'm also a friend of mine is really into the Voltron series on Netflix.
I heard that was good as well,
which was really interesting. I think for me, the 2 were Haunting on Hill House, which I absolutely loved, and another one that I wish we'd kind of reviewed on the show was Wild Wild Country. But we didn't quite get to that either. But those were really, really great. I think both had kind of unusually soft endings. Not to give too much away, but very, very worthwhile and very exciting from two new filmmakers, or not new, but new, relatively new.
New to you.
New to me. So let's move on to our top 10.
Dun, 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 dun.
Who wants to go first? Do you want to flip a coin, or how do we want to do
You go first.
All right, my top 10, my number 10 on my top 10 is a film that I was a little surprised by. Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh!
Mission Impossible Fallout. I think I have been lackadaisical on the Mission Impossible series since part 3. I've not been that enthused by those. I think the last 2 I've kind of just, pretty much forgotten pretty quickly. The 4th one surprised the hell out of me in terms of like bringing back a sense of high stakes to the whole thing.
Well, apparently you can't fight the friction, as Imagine Dragons would say.
Yeah.
And I can't argue with it. That movie, to be honest, that was my, if we continue this list down the line, was my number 11.
Oh, wow. Didn't crack your top 10.
Didn't crack my top 10, no.
There you go.
But it's so fun. I saw it twice in the theater.
Yeah.
I both times visibly cheered during the moment where Henry Cavill's arm should have the reload sound effect and don't in the bathroom. That bathroom fight is amazing. It's just a good action movie.
Yeah, it is a really, really... It kind of... What it reminds me of is, oddly, of Jackie Chan films, where the central character has this sort of physicality to them that you're just kind of in awe of.
Yeah.
And the movie is so tactile. I think in a world where, we've talked about this at length, but, CGI fight scenes and CGI building destructions and things.
Yeah.
The film feels so tactile, real, and grounded. And this is obviously a product of the marketing as well. But that's part of the enjoyment of seeing it is, is seeing real things happen on screen and how, how terrifying seeing one person hanging off a ledge can be if it feels real versus seeing 1,000 people hanging off a ledge in a CGI world. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because one's real and one's not. And,
Yeah.
and there's no... Well, actually, I was going to say, currently, we can't make it seem real, which is true to a point, Uncanny Valley. But did you see, this is a bit of a tangent, and I apologize, did you see the deep fakes thing of Steve Buscemi's face
that's incredible.
on Jennifer Lawrence's acceptance speech?
I think that was for me, that was a turning point where I was like, the world has changed as far as because as far as I know, that deep fake was done. Is it done algorithmically or is it done by hand?
It's kind of both,
right?
Like 80% algorithmically, then tweaked.
Yeah, because my wife came into the room while I was watching it, and she was like, "Oh, who is that? I can't quite figure out who that is." And she didn't quite get that was not that was a composite person.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with it, they combined using digital technology, Steve Buscemi's face, and put it on Jennifer Lawrence's acceptance speech from forever ago.
Yeah.
And I need to see it. Here's the thing. I need to see it not on my phone. I need to see it actually on an actual screen in HD to see if the fake really holds.
Yeah.
I feel like the compression does definitely help it,
Yeah.
but it is good.
It's very good.
So maybe
but
if they can make...
But it's disturbing.
Yeah, but if they can use that technology to make CGI fight scenes somehow feel more real with actual actors doing things that they can't actually do, maybe one day we'll feel the same rush that we did for Mission Impossible Fallout. Also,
I wouldn't have connected those two things like that.
Well, no, because we talked about how the reason that movie is so visceral is because you realize that he's doing these things, and I'm saying current CG feels flat because we know that it's not the real person doing it. But if it ever gets to the point where we can't actually tell the difference and the marketing lies to us, we'll feel that way.
The other thing I just want to shout out for Mission Impossible is the score, which I've been listening to a lot by Lauren Balfe. I think is one of the best Mission Impossible scores I've heard in a long time. Ever since U2 did their version of it.
Wow.
Matt, what is your number 10?
My number 10 is just in it for the lulz. No, it's not, but that almost makes sense. Ralph Breaks the Internet is my number 10.
Very, very good choice.
That movie was a movie that I could not shut up about. To the point
it's
where...
good that you host a movie podcast.
I know. Well, no, outside of the movie podcast. I was over at Jamie's place, and I believe on multiple different occasions, I kept bringing up Ralph Breaks the Internet to her roommates, and by the end of it, I could just see it in there. They were very polite.
Yeah.
But they were just like, "Shut the fuck up." It hit me in all the feels. I think it was a good moral lesson for a lot of the things that are going on in our current society right now, wrapped in. Granted, a very saccharine take of the internet, but if you're marketing towards kids with jokes and lessons that you want adults to kind of see as well, I think it was done very, very well. And I think it was weird and weirdly an important film, despite the fact it was wrapped up in a Wreck-It Ralph wrapper.
Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, I even thought Wreck-It Ralph was great. So I guess maybe that's the thing. Wreck-It Ralph has the potentiality now to be a Toy Story. You know, like Toy Story managed to up itself every time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if Wreck-It Ralph can continue that tradition, because I think the first one was great, and I think the second one was great. I think the second one is better.
The second one is better.
Yeah. So,
but again, it'd be hard to have the second one without knowing all the stuff you kind of know from the first one. To have it, I mean, you'd get the generalness of it, but the emotional take on the characters you need.
Okay. Is this where we're going to be reading somebody else's out?
No, we got one more. We got number 9.
Okay, okay. We're going to interject with other people's top 10s as we go along. My number 9, and this is unfair because you didn't see this film, was You Were Never Really Here. But we did review it on the podcast.
We did, yes.
We did review it on the podcast.
Which is fine. I still have, I don't know how much I have to say about it.
No, I don't think you have a lot to say about it because you haven't seen it. But it is available on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it right now. It is, and shot in this neighborhood that we're currently sitting in. But I think this is a film that challenged me in a way that other films didn't do this year. And I think it was part of that discussion of anti-narrative. You Were Never Really Here by Lynn Ramsey, starring Joaquin Phoenix. There's a couple of extraordinary moments in this film where I felt like I knew what this film was going to do, and then it just did 180 degrees the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And in many ways, it did the thing that was the least satisfying that it could be for the situation that it was creating. But it was doing that to illustrate the point that the thing that we thought would be most satisfying is the destruction of the people involved. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't do that. So it's kind of a sort of very, I guess the word you would call, this makes it sound pedantic, but ethically conservative film. Because it has got at the forefront of it, it has got a sincere care for the people that are involved in the story that it's telling. And yeah. So, for that, in terms of films that I came back to a lot in my mind this year, that was one of them. I haven't rewatched it since that first watch. But it definitely sat with me the entire year, and we reviewed that fairly early. I think Brendan McCarthy was from the No Fucking ZD podcast, which I guessed on that episode. So not a lot you can say about that one.
No. It is nice to hear that sort of the antithesis of the sort of action revenge film. Would you say that the polar opposite of that film would be like John Wick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My number 9, I was excited for, didn't have high hopes for, and then it swung me around a bit. That would be The Bad Times at the El Royale.
Bad Times at El Royale.
That movie, I am very much looking forward to going back to it. In fact, I was after I saw it multiple times, I kept checking if I could buy the Blu-ray.
Right. So you've seen it twice, or?
No, I've only seen it once.
Oh, okay. I thought you said after I saw it multiple times.
No. I've wanted to see it multiple times, and I kept checking to see if the Blu-ray was available, say on like Amazon. But they do that thing now, which is really annoying, where they don't actually let you pre-order Blu-rays anymore.
Oh, really?
Because they want you to buy it from their streaming service.
Oh, okay.
Which is annoying, and I will never do. But Bad Times at El Royale was sort of perfectly imperfect in my opinion.
We had a few issues with this film.
It was it was dirty. Some parts were sloppy. Some parts were rushed. Some parts were too long. But again, it was one of the films this year that actually stuck with me, and I found myself sort of daydreaming about the sections of and trying to figure out did this happen because of this, or did Chris Hemsworth blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I still don't know yet if it's because the filmmaking was sloppy in parts, or they just left things open to interpretation, or if it was actually so good that I was catching things subconsciously. I'm looking forward to going back and seeing it again, and maybe that would taint that on this list, but I feel like it's low enough where I'm okay with it.
I think, the interesting thing about that is I do remember the issue, the primary issue that we had with that film. But I think when I think about it, I think about the good times I had at the El Royale, which had to do with a couple of things. One is the opening 30 minutes of that movie with John Hamm kind of discovering the way the hotel works is just some of the best filmmaking this year. And the second is Cynthia Erivo, who is probably an MVP for me this year.
Widows, baby.
Yeah, which she was just such an extraordinary screen performance, and I think that was a great example of that. I did have issues with that film enough to like not name it as my top, in my top 10, but I did for all of its problems, I did enjoy it.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. So now we're doing
we're doing Laura's email.
Laura from Australia, and I might have passed through Australia at this point. I'm going on a little bit of a trip this year, as these are being released. But
are you just going to visit all of our fans?
Oh, I don't think Laura is going to be in the place that I'm going to.
I'm just saying, every time you're like, "Oh, I've been there. I'm going there," and I'm like, is this your road trip? Is this what you're doing? You're literally going to go to everyone who listens to us' house?
Oh, what was that Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where they go and visit all their commentators on the internet?
That's getting rebooted.
Yeah. Cool, right?
I guess.
I'm not sure why that's being rebooted, but
fuck it. I liked the first one. If he can do it again, great.
Jay and Silent Bob or Clerks?
Both.
I wasn't a fan of Jay and Silent Bob. I like Clerks a lot.
I think Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back hit at the exact right time it should have, and I don't think it doesn't stand the test of time. But if he can do something like that, having that same effect and that same timeliness for now, then rock and roll.
All right, here are the top 10s from Laura. Again, thank you, Laura, for writing in with these. I'm going to read them out, and but this one requires some context. Number 10, I know it doesn't really count as a film, but Letterboxd counts, so I'm going to go with it. Sharp Objects was amazing, and some of Amy Adams' Five's worked. Interesting story and such a great ending. Now, I haven't seen the ending, so don't spoil it for me.
So I haven't either, but Laura apparently goes to the Shahir school of breaking all the rules when it comes to these lists.
No, okay. You seem very bitter about that.
I just like fighting about it.
Okay, all right. Sharp Objects is something I've seen the first episode, but I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes.
I think I'm 3 in.
Yeah. Her number, and I'm just going to read them from here on in. Number 9 is First Man. Number 8 is Eighth Grade. Good placing.
Whoa!
Number 7, Paddington 2, which I'm dying to see, but I can only see with my 3-year-old because we watched Paddington together, so I can't watch Paddington 2.
What a shitty father you would be if you just went and saw Paddington 2 by yourself.
No, see, that's the thing. I can't go and watch it by myself, or I can't watch it by myself. Number 6, Widows. Number 5, You Were Never Really Here. Number 4, Hereditary. Number 3, Into the Spider-Verse. Number 2, Roma, and I'm going to read out their note about Laura's note about her number 1, which is The Favorite. I think I must just be the demographic for this film. Yep. I was gonna make some joke about being a Downton Abbey fan or something like that, but I couldn't ask to be catered towards me anymore. The dark humor, the 3 leading ladies, the romance, and the games between them. I just can't get enough. I actually quite enjoyed a toned down Yorgos Lanthimos, and I really like the way the story played out too. The script's origin was such a surprise to me. Endlessly entertaining and quotable, fun cinematography, and Rachel Weisz in extravagant shooting attire, and throwing books at Emma Stone. Don't even get me started on Olivia Colman. Oscars for all of it.
Would you say it was one of your top romances?
It was one of my top romances. I was looking at her number 2, which was Roma.
I was playing off the fact that I fucked up the word top.
I didn't say you fucked up the word. It just sounded very Boston.
I know. So it was like tap romances.
Yeah, that's my accent. Great list. Nothing. And great list. Nothing surprising in there. Other than Sharp Objects, I guess.
No, I mean, I think Paddington. I know I heard good things about it.
No, Paddington has gotten a lot of love.
But that is if. Again, I don't want to say surprising as in I don't think it belongs there. I think surprising as in like, oh yeah, like I didn't remember that, and that was something that a lot of people.
Have you seen Paddington 2?
No,
I haven't seen it, but I've just heard a lot of people say that it is the feel-good movie of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that, but I have to watch it with my.
Did the Winnie the Pooh movie come out?
Christopher Robin.
It did. It came and went.
Yeah.
Huh.
But Christopher Robin is not like an out-and-out Winnie the Pooh movie. It's about the child.
I just was curious if that came out yet. It kind of came and went, and I forgot about it.
Yeah, it went away pretty quickly. All right, thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Appreciate that. And moving on.
Should hear your number 8.
My number 8 is a film that was mentioned by Laura in her number 6 position, and that is Steve McQueen's Widows. That was a film I just thoroughly enjoyed, and I think had a lot more going on under the surface than, despite the fact that it's kind of an action thriller. A movie that had multitudes of layers, again featuring my MVP of the year, Cynthia Erivo, who I think should be cast as the new Bat person. They are looking for a new Bat person, by the way, a Batman, but I think she should be it. And I think this was one of the best heist films I've seen in years, and B, just the surprise. Steve McQueen, the director of 12 Years a Slave and Shame and Hunger, moving to a genre piece just shows that he is almost limitless in the things he could do. I could imagine him making any kind of film and making it exciting and wonderful. The reason why it's placed number 8, there was a couple of things in it that I think didn't work, but such a wonderful experience. So glad to have seen it in theater. Wished I'd watched it a couple more times in the theater, to be honest with you.
The only reason it didn't make it on my top 10 was that I lost a $1 bet.
Oh, really?
No, I think that movie was great. It didn't make it on my top 10, but it was very close. There's literally nothing. I had so much fun while seeing that. I think one of the, to be honest, the reason why it didn't crack my top is after the podcast, I didn't really think about it again.
Okay.
And that's what you're going to find this year. I have a lot of sort of introspection with my choices, I think.
Yeah.
And it's the ones that made my list are the ones that sort of something about it stuck with me. And while Widows, while I was there, I was in it.
Yeah.
And I loved talking about it. I think there's a lot to talk about it. It didn't come up naturally for me in my brain or in conversations. And I think that's the only reason why it didn't.
I mean, that's what a top 10 list kind of is, right? It's not really that's why I mean when it's arbitrary, it's like, what's the ones that stuck with you?
Right. But that's not arbitrary. That's what your top 10 list is.
Right. Okay. You have this thing about math, which is that you think math is finite, right?
I mean, I do think it is, but I don't think that our opinions are necessarily finite, but I think you have to do things in the context of the rules that you say you're doing them.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
What was your number 8 then?
My
what was
number
your
8,
10 minus 2?
Laura, I'm so sorry, was The Favorite.
Oh, wow. That's not why are you sorry about that?
Well, it's someone's number 1.
That doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, it's still on your top. It's still on your top 10, which means you liked it.
Yes, I loved it. It was such a look. I love 94% of The Lobster.
Okay, this is that math thing again.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I was so happy to get a film like The Favorite now that I really enjoyed 100% of it.
Right. I
feel like it all worked together. I mean, I don't want to go into it too much because Laura summed up the amazingness of it already.
Yeah.
I was giddily uncomfortable the entire time I watched that movie. And I've thought about particularly, what scene comes back to me a lot?
Yeah.
Is the very end where
it's not a spoiler.
I don't think so. But when a character is stepping on a rabbit.
Okay.
And that's not now because I didn't say who's doing what when, but that bit for multiple reasons comes back to me, and that's sort of my spiral point of oh, there was this, then I'm like, well, what about this, that, and the other, and no spoilers, but it's a touch point where it spirals me back into thinking about the film and my experience with it. You know
what one of my favorite movies of all time is The Talented Mr. Ripley. Mm-hmm. And The Favorite reminded me so much of The Talented Mr. Ripley in ways, because it's about people vying for one person's affections and changing their moral compass in order to do so. And I think, The Talented Mr. Ripley is a high watermark for me, and I think I would argue The Favorite might actually be a better film, probably in hindsight, but it's an extraordinary movie.
It's an incredibly relatable genre. And by that, I mean, we've all been in positions in our lives at some point. You
mean being in the Queen?
Of course, being with the Queen. Yeah, no. Yeah. But when you
say genre, that's what I'm saying.
But genre, I'm saying of between that and The Talented Mr. Ripley, where it's sort of here's two people that have a great relationship with one another, and then someone else comes along
Right.
and is like better, and then the first person is a little bit jealous. I mean, I've been in situations much less intense than these films.
Friendship
we're discussing.
triangles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what about me? Like, and I feel like I've also been the second person, and then the dynamic is just something that is so humanly relatable. And then when you put it in sort of extraordinary circumstances, it just makes for a great film. So
Yeah. No, it's a great, great, great movie.
what's your number 7?
My number 7 is A Quiet Place. A movie kind of like Mission Impossible Fallout, which is one that I think has a lot of story problems, but was such a great experience seeing in a theater, and is so good at doing what it's trying to do in terms of creating an experience for the audience that overwhelms any story narrative problems that I have with it. I think that movie really, to borrow phrases from other podcasts, that movie fucks. That movie fucks hard.
What podcast said the movie fucks?
That would be Blank Check Podcast. Downtown Griffey Humes
There we go.
always is that. But yeah, no, that movie.
You got to quote. You got to quote quotes like that.
Yeah. That movie fucks.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
You're number 7. Oh, what do you think of A Quiet Place?
It consensually makes love.
Yeah.
I liked A Quiet Place a lot.
Mhm.
I feel like this is the shitty part about it. The film itself is designed for movie theaters in pristine environments.
Yeah.
If you have one shitty person in your theater,
I think a shitty person in your theater is going to make the movie more fun.
I disagree.
Because I think like everyone's going to turn on that person, and I think everyone's going to have that experience, which is like, you need to shut the fuck up.
But it
right
takes
now.
away from the film. But it's not the film's fault. It's people's fault.
Right.
I did like A Quiet Place very much. I'm glad to see John Krasinski sort of like doing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I liked it a lot. It was good.
Sequel coming next year. I don't know if I need to see a sequel,
A
but
quieter place.
yeah, even quieter. A loud place.
My number 7
Yep.
is probably at least the vocal antithesis of A Quiet Place.
Mm.
Do you want to take a guess what that means?
What's the loudest film on our list? Is it The Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
No, A Star is Born.
A Star is Born.
I'm on the deep end, watches at diving. That movie. Look, we said it in our podcast before, but it's like a really good song that a cover is done by it, and you're like, fuck, this cover's better than the original. Like,
Right.
it's not a new story. Nothing in it will surprise you.
Yeah.
But you will be in it, and you will be like for it the entire time you're watching it.
You know what surprised me in that film was that how seriously they dealt with the relationship between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
And how legitimately they kind of made Bradley Cooper's downfall seem tragic and heartfelt. And I think there was a sincerity to which they dealt with the characters in that film that really did work.
I would posit, though I haven't seen one of them, and I haven't seen the other two in the Star is Born quadriloquadruple.
Oh, the
whatever.
other
but
remakes?
I can't remember a moment that felt as real as their relationship in The Downfall as it did in this film. I think they went harder on it, and I think that's what did it for it.
So moving on.
Well, now
we have a listener, right? Who is going to chime in?
We're
with-
gonna hear what Jacob has to say.
Jacob is the person who did email me at 3:00 in the morning.
All right, well, we got it in under the wire.
Yeah, let's hear it, Jacob.
Hey guys, it's Jacob calling in with my top 10 movies of 2018. Pretty standard throughout, with a couple selections that are a little out of left field. Number 10, Eighth Grade. Number 9, The Favorite. Number 8, Tyrell. Number 7, Let the Corpses Tan. Number 6, Lean on Pete. Number 5, Cold War. Number 4, If Beale Street Could Talk. Number 3, Burning. Number 2, Mid-90s. And my favorite movie from last year was Blindspotting. Number 7 and 8, Let the Corpses Tan and Tyrell, are the strange picks of the bunch, but I highly recommend both of them. They're just wonderful, wonderful films. So yeah, can't wait to hear what you guys have on your lists, and looking forward to 2019. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Jacob, thank you so much for your list.
Thanks, Jacob.
I always enjoy Jacob's commentary. Jacob messages us on Twitter all the time, and the thing I've said this every year about Jacob, but Jacob goes to see movies that we don't, and fills us in on a lot of things that we haven't seen.
Let the Corpses Tan.
Yeah.
That's the most fucking metal title of a film.
I've heard of that film. I've heard I haven't heard of Tyrell, which is the other one he mentioned that was sort of left field. But Let the Corpses Tan, I haven't heard it like on a top 10 list this year, but I have read about it. He did mention a film that I wish we'd seen, and actually reminded me of another film that I wish we'd seen as well. But and this was the two horse movies of the year. But Lean on Pete and The Rider. I am very excited to see Lean on Pete. That was directed by Andrew Hay, who directed 45 Years, I believe, and Weekend.
Lean on Pete is a horse movie directed by Andrew Hay.
Haigh, I believe is how it is.
Doesn't.
I should double check that because I'm doing that off the top of my dome. Lean on Pete, double check. Director is it Andrew Hay? Is it? Yes, and I spelled it correctly too.
There you go.
Haigh.
Look at you.
No, just using the old memory.
Did you teach film school?
I don't think that would have to do with teaching film school. I think that has to do with OCD.
I think one would argue that they could both be intertwined.
They could be intertwined, but I don't think they're related.
Anyway,
but then the other film he mentioned, which I just saw recently, was Burning, the Lee Chang-dong film. Lee Chang-dong is one of my favorite all-time filmmakers. I just saw Burning. I'm not sure I absolutely loved Burning, but I think I went in with very, very high expectations, for one. And B, it's also another one of those anti-narrative films that does things that you don't expect it to do. And for me, Burning, I think, is going to require a couple more viewings to really absorb. But I'm glad that's the first Lee Chang-dong film I've ever seen in a movie theater. And he also, obviously, Blind Spotting. Movie we both regretted we missed.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob. I love Jacob's lists.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, I gotta do this better.
I gotta be better at this job. All right, what are we up to?
You're on number 6. You're number 6.
My number 6 is The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Netflix film, Netflix anthology film by the Coen brothers. A unique experience, which the more I have thought about it, I did see it twice. The more I've thought about it, I see it as a singular experience, kind of like a set of singular stories from the Old West, each almost in opposition to each other, but all kind of telling similar stories, or telling a story about, I think I said this on the podcast, this sort of worldview about both the Coens have and the Wild West has, which is that it's both nihilistic and fatalistic, which means it is predetermined and predestined, and also nothing matters, but that's what's wonderful and beautiful about it.
Yeah, I was just going through, I have a notebook that I write all of our during our show notes in. And I was trying to find the Buster Scruggs. Here we go. When I tried to tie them all together, because we were trying to find the common theme.
Yeah.
You'll be replaced when you least expect it, but by a lesser thing. But the universe doesn't care, and there's no easy explanation. But death is the only thing that we can have agency over, because life is an uncertain place. Yeah.
How do you have agency over death?
I forget exactly how, but I think that was the 5th one. Anyway, go back and listen to the Ballad of Buster Scruggs episode. That was a fun exercise to try to figure that shit out.
I loved that film. It's just extraordinary. I don't know how the Coens do it, to be honest with you. I don't know how it is they're that good at everything they do. Even their films that like Burn After Reading, which is a film I don't love, I think is extraordinary.
2 words: chaos magic. But enough about that.
You're number 5?
No, number 6. Number 6. That was your number 6. Did you do your number 5?
Wait, hang on. I'm just going back over your list. That was my number 6.
Yeah, now I do my number 6. You've been going first, and then I go.
Oh, sorry. I've just numbered yours wrong.
That's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
My number 6. I'm bucking the numerical trend, Shahir.
Yep. So it's a number film. I'm guessing it's 8th grade.
8th grade.
8th grade.
Oh God, that film got me not only all in the feels, but just in general. I'm a sucker for any movie that can portray an experience that is so relatable, even if you yourself have only experienced like 20% of it, if that makes sense. And by that I mean I've been in 8th grade. I remember things, but I haven't been a young woman in 8th grade. I haven't been in 8th grade in 2018. Like there's a lot of different things that I haven't, but I felt that this film just did such an amazing job through direction, acting, etc., of making you feel like you were with this girl on her journey. And again, another sort of social commentary on how kids are growing up these days with social media. And again, I go back to the Fire Festival documentaries about the influence of social media that it can have when you really and the 2016 election. But when it goes off the rails. But this is sort of like if those are the macro of the problems, there's a lot of the micro of the problems here, and how people can possibly overcome it.
Yeah.
It was moving, and it was powerful, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
One of the best directorial debuts in a while from Bo Burnham. And it has again, the scene where she goes out to the swimming pool, I think is one of the best shot moments I think I've seen in a film this year. So terrific choice. Would you like to hear my number 5?
Yes, please.
My number 5 is a film I'm expecting to see on your list at some point.
Okay.
Into the
Spider-Verse.
Again, very often I won't have superhero films on my top 10, but so in all the years we've been doing this would be the second one that's appeared on that
What
list.
was your other one?
Logan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think the reason is, there's lots of reasons within the film. I think it's an extraordinary film. It's so delightful, so effortlessly charming. It does so much important work in terms of reconfiguring who we think about Spider-Man can possibly be. The idea that it could be anyone. But the reason I love it so much is that my son and I watch the music video for Into the Spider-Verse a lot because it's just a bunch of scenes taken from the film.
It's very good.
With text kind of played over it. And the thing that I love about it is my son watches it and goes, Spider-Man is he doesn't say Miles Morales, but he goes, it's that kid. And then later on, as we're watching it, he goes, Spider-Man is also that girl. And he kind of realized that his first impression of Spider-Man is not Peter Parker, is not a singular version. It's not a person that doesn't look like him. It's a multitude of people. And I think to realize that is his first impression of Spider-Man, I think is really powerful for me. But that's just outside of outside the film and what it's doing. It's a great, wonderful time in the movies.
Yeah.
A jammed-packed action, to the brim, funny, exciting, changes our conception of Spider-Man, heartfelt. Yeah, all of the things that I think superhero movies want to be.
I will say this is an apology to our listenership. My quote for our Into the Spider-Verse episode,
yes,
was a super spoiler.
Was a super spoiler,
and I have been looking for the right time to apologize for that. And I'm sorry, didn't realize it until I believe Steven, friend of the show, pointed it out.
Yeah, and
I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So apologies for that, but Spider-Verse was a magical time in the theater. I 100% agree.
Yeah. Your number 5.
My number 5 is going with your trends for the year.
Oh, the anti-narrative film?
No,
the B films.
The B films.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me just think. B films that we did. Is it the Battle of Buster Scruggs?
No.
It's If Beale Street Could Talk.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. I gushed. I mean, we both gushed over this movie a lot. Though I think I gushed a little more. I think you were a little bit tainted not tainted. You were affected by your reading of the novel prior.
I will say this. I've watched the trailer to that film since then, and the trailer makes me weep.
Yeah.
The trailer makes me gush.
Yeah. But
really.
The movie did.
I had a lump in my throat during the movie, but I think when you think back on movies, do you remember the problems or do you remember the good times? And I think I remember the problems more, but I think it was because I was wrestling with that film more than I would be. Yeah.
It's modern mythology. I've said it a bunch of different times. I think that's the best way to put it. Every performance is friggin' Gigi Delight, Kiki Lane, Stephen James, God.
Regina King.
Like,
Nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, I don't know. That's, again, if we're talking about movies that I thought about a bunch after the fact, in like positive, good ways, this one's right up there, middle of my pack. It does something that I felt. No, that's not. I was gonna start making like an analogy to the effectiveness of the message of, say, something like BlacKkKlansman.
Okay.
But
that was another B movie.
Yes. It is a completely different approach to talking about systemic racism and how it affects people. And so I think personally, for whatever it's worth, this style of film, if Beale Street Could Talk, is a much more effective way to tell a narrative than BlacKkKlansman, though they both have their places. I just found where I didn't really think about BlacKkKlansman again after the fact. This one, I kept going back to the story of these two people that fucking life dealt a few beautiful cards to, but overall very shitty hand due to the systems that are in place. And it was a fantastic. It was an emotional time at the theater, and I thoroughly enjoyed experiencing it.
Yeah. Now, before we jump into our number 4, we've got one more listener who's going to chime in.
Well, we got the next listener who's going to chime in.
Oh, okay.
Josh.
Josh, who's now this is an interesting story. Josh's brother, Zach, who is a listener from the UK, put Josh onto us. Or put Josh onto us, and then I've now been following Josh because Josh runs a Twitter account called Film Qualia, which is superb, and he started releasing video essays. I believe one on Polish cinema and one recently, which I haven't watched this one, but I think I contributed to by giving him a suggestion for a film, and that is the history of phone calls in horror movies.
Okay,
and if you think about the most popular one, you've got Scream.
Hello, Sydney.
Yeah. Is that Scream?
Yeah,
that is Scream. Yeah, and I gave him
the most popular one.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember her name in the call.
Hello, Drew.
Yeah, Drew. That's who I would have thought. But if you're a listener of this show, you must check out Film Qualia on YouTube, which is a fantastic YouTube channel. And Josh is a very, very well watched film goer. So I will say that.
But you watched him? That's creepy.
He's a well watched, as in he's watched.
Like you're watching him a lot.
Yeah, I watch him all the time.
Okay,
pretty much.
Well, I'm gonna hear him.
There you go.
Okay.
Hi, this is Josh from Film Qualia with my top 10 of 2018. These are in no particular order, although the top 4 are probably my favourites. At number 10, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Number 9, American Animals. Number 8, You Were Never Really Here. 7, Roma. 6, Madeline's Madeline, which was amazing, and more people need to watch that movie. Some of the best performances of the year are in there. Number 5, The Favourite. Number 4, Burning, another one which not many people have seen, and that is terrific. There's so much going on in that movie. I need to watch it at least 3 or 4 more times to really understand it. So psychologically dense and thematically just it's amazing. Everyone needs to see Burning. Number 3, Hereditary, which could easily be my number 1 as well. That film just rocked my world. 2, Cold War. Number 1, I'm not sure it got released in the US, but we got it in the UK, so it's my number 1, Climax. Gaspar Noé's best movie by a million miles. Just so much fun. It's like Possession if it was a musical. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. Cracking film, and a great year for movies. Looking forward to hearing everyone else's top picks.
Film Qualia, who I believe goes to the same school of list ordering that I do, which is that it's entirely arbitrary.
Oh no, actually, he goes to a partial. He took some daytime classes with you, but he didn't take the full semester because
if you listen to what he said about Hereditary, he said it could have easily been his number 1. I think that's all I was saying.
But it wasn't. What I'm saying is, if we want to get real technical with how he spoke this, and he can write us in, Josh, write us in and tell me if you think I'm off, which is totally fine if that's the case. He said that all of his films up to his top 4 could have been in any order, and then he did say that one could have easily been somewhere else, but he didn't put it there. So there you go.
Okay. for what it's worth. There's a couple of films on his list that I haven't seen. American Animals I haven't seen, but I've heard very, very good things about. The heist film, the college high school film, heist film, and Madeline's Madeline, which I've heard very mixed reviews on. Madeline's Madeline is one that the people who love it will tell you all about how great it is, and the images I've seen from it are beautiful and extraordinary.
Sure.
But the people who don't like it really don't like it. Again, another fan of Burning, which I feel like we should do because I think there's a lot of meat on them bones, and it would just give me a good opportunity to talk about Lee Chang-dong. And Climax, to describe Climax as a position if it was a musical, I'm there. I'm a big fan of Gaspar Noé, even though I think I emailed this to Josh last night. He's made some of the most difficult and repugnant images I've ever seen in my life.
No way.
Yeah.
See what I did?
What's that?
Never mind.
What do you mean, no way? Oh, no. Oh, no way. No way. Yeah, I see what you did there. Climax, I don't know if that'll get a release here, to be honest with you. Gaspar Noé is...
We can get it, though.
We should be able to. I mean, like Love, for example, his last film is on Netflix, and Love opens with a fairly graphic sex scene. And I'm sure that'll be one of the reasons why his films are... Although I did see Into the... what was his film called? It's his druggy trip movie.
Void?
Into the Void. Yeah, Into the Void.
Yeah.
I saw Into the Void in the movie theaters here, so hopefully we do get Climax here. Good list. Anything from there that you want to
No, you covered it, man. I think it was a solid list. And actually, Josh, great voice, by the way. I want to check out these video essays now.
Yeah. And also, we have sent an open invite to Josh to.
Oh yeah, come on the show.
He believes he wants to talk about Polish or Czech cinema or Mike Lee.
I would love to pick his brain about Polish cinema. Because
we're going to be doing some Polish cinema very soon.
Yeah, I know. Just because I've said this on the podcast before, I don't really have a lineage I would say I identify with, but biologically,
you're Polish?
I am Polish.
Oh.
So while I've never really, other than like the history of Poland, I have not gotten into Polish cinema. So I think
that's a good choice. I was going to suggest if we did Czech cinema, we would do Jan Svankmajer, who's a favorite of mine. But we are going to be doing Cold War in a couple of weeks. So we will be delving into some Polish cinema.
And I've been learning a lot about Polish history, even through the work on Extra History on YouTube. It's been fascinating. So yeah.
Okay.
All right, your number 4.
Number four. Let me pull it up here. I know it should be memorized in my head because it was one of the most. Again, next to A Quiet Place, just a great time at the theater, despite me being one of the only people in the theater. So not a very.
That's the best.
Not a very watched movie, but my number 4 is The Death of Stalin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the year.
It was almost at the very, very beginning of the year. A movie that I just absolutely I think is one of the funniest things I've ever seen about one of the most difficult topics I've ever seen, and I think that's an extraordinary ability to turn history into a comedy, but for the right reasons. I think again I don't want to. Harp on about Green Book because
yes,
we've already had the conversation about Green Book, but when I think about movies this year that take history and have an incredibly talented hand retelling history in sort of an interesting way and has something to say in the retelling, Armando Iannucci's The Death of Stalin is a really good example of that. This is of course, the retelling of as the title says, the death of Stalin and the power vacuum left behind in the death of Stalin, and all told in English by a variety of actors from different ethnic backgrounds, and somehow making it all seemingly gel together effortlessly at a cracking pace, and still manages to give you all of the horrors of the power vacuum that was left behind by the death of Stalin. And also, in a final point, I guess this is why it's number 4 on my list, because I can just keep talking about it, is directly relatable to the world we live in today. It is whether it wants to be or not, is directly tied to the world we live in today. And you can see the way power plays are done and the reason that they're done, playing out in the politics of the world we occupy in today. So just all around, I can't say enough about this movie or how great it is.
Yeah, it was definitely effective. I believe we got into a conversation, and listeners, you can go back and check out our the Death of Stalin podcast. Still, our one of our overhead images on either SoundCloud or Facebook.
Oh yeah,
because it was one of my favorite things in there. But it brings up, like, we talked about this a little bit in Art versus Artist too. It's a different issue with it, but at the same time, what is okay to joke about? And I posit anything is okay to joke about if you are good enough at doing it. Yeah. And this is a film that takes something that is so problematic and so horrifying and literally says, "Hold my beer," and like nails it.
Yeah, I think to me, I 100% agree with you. Anything is open to jokes, to being made fun of. The only line there is how skilled you are at telling jokes.
Yes. And oftentimes, folks who say that phrase that we both just said are and then go on to do a joke that is really harsh subject matter based, aren't skilled enough to do it. And this is a case where I think that the filmmaker and the cast and the crew was. Yeah. Now, granted, there's you could go down the moral rabbit hole of that too, but that's just sort of where I stand. I enjoyed the film very much.
Yeah. Your number 4.
It's the exact same thing. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
Is my number 4. This is a magical film. I'm psyched for kids growing up like your son, and all the other all the children of the world that get to see this as their first Spider-Man thing, because I remember, my first Spider-Man experience was cartoons, but then I read the comics and then whatever, and it's like, this is a much more effective medium, especially for young kids to see. And I am a spoiler alert, I'm a nerdy dude. I own 3 Spider-Man suits. Don't worry about it. The fact that kids who don't look like me, can
because
now,
you look like Spider-Man.
Well, because I would say I don't look like Peter Parker. Peter Parker is much better looking than I am. But Peter Parker is a white cis dude. I am a white cis dude. But now anyone can get the same feeling that I got when I first interacted with Spider-Man and the Spider-Man universe, and I think that is I'm getting a little verklempt even talking about it. It's kind of it's a gift. It's like, it's something that is incredibly special, and it was inspirational to me, and I'm glad that rightfully so. It should be able to be an inspiration for everybody. So and the animation was so fucking smart. Like, it's beyond amazing looking. It's just smart and clean and different looking and striking.
Yeah.
And I've watched a bunch of the sort of behind the scenes about what they did, how, and like all this stuff. And you go to YouTube and you can just deep dive into that. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I loved it to death.
Now, before we move on to our top 3, I made a side bit with you. I think maybe following our widows episode, where we
bet $1.
We bet a whole $1. Now,
and I lost.
And now's your chance to redeem that whole $1.
I don't think I'm gonna.
So here's a blind bit of our top 3. So I'm gonna write down on a piece of paper what I believe your top 3 is gonna be.
I have a question though.
Okay.
Because we've now done our top 7.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to adjust our top 3s? Have you adjusted your top 3 for me after reading mine? Because I have mine written on a Post-it note under my keyboard.
I did write it pre-hand, so I guess.
So is this your original list before I read?
I have an original list, and I'm sure you have an original.
I do. Are we allowed to change it now?
Why?
Okay, I'm just asking.
What's the consensus say?
I don't know. I'm literally asking because this is a rule being made. I'm happy to adjust my list.
Okay,
because my list is wrong right now, and as I'm sure maybe yours is a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
Originally as well. So if we want to make it interesting,
Or should we just stick with the originals and see how wrong we were? Because this was
I think that's fair.
No, actually, that's better because I think then we're kind of because what this list is saying is what we think the other person likes, right?
Sure.
And we have,
And I bet you we're going to get 1 out of 3 spot on.
yeah.
But I don't think the rest are going to work.
All right, so we're bidding a whole dollar here on that I have now in a piece of paper.
Okay.
Have predicted what Matt's top 3 are.
Same. Now here's the thing: is it going to be the dollar goes to the person who gets the most correct out of the 3?
Yeah, let's use a point system for the most correct, right?
Okay, and then but each number 3, 2, 1 isn't worth any more or less than the others. Or do you want? Oh, now we could get real fucking weird. What if the third place is worth 1 point if correct?
Well, there's only 2 of us.
The second place is worth 2 points if correct, and the third place is worth 3 points if correct. And if we get them wrong, it's minus points. That way, because otherwise, if
think
it's just the same,
overcomplicating
no,
it.
because if we don't overcomplicate it, we're both going to get one right. Then we're going to have to rip that dollar in half.
Sure. Okay. All right.
All right. Let's go. That's the rules.
All right. Top 3. And listeners, you could probably email us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com with what you thought our top 3 was going to be and whether you were surprised by these or not. Or tweet us at onlymoviepod on
I feel
Twitter.
like mine are pretty blatant.
But
let's
I
go.
would have thought so.
Go down the.
I would have thought so,
let's go down the
but
list.
apparently I'm wrong because okay, my number 3. No surprises here. The Favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Laura has talked about it. It has popped up on a number of top 10 lists. It is an extraordinary piece of filmmaking, extraordinary craftsmanship in a story. Again, one of my favorite films is The Talented Mr. Ripley, and I think this might top that. I think this is that friendship triangle that is inverted and turned around, inverting everybody's moral compass. Yorgos Lanthimos is a filmmaker that I have always thought is extraordinarily talented, but never actually fully connected with. Except I did watch Killing of a Sacred Deer this year, which I really loved as well. But I think this is his most accessible film. I don't know what else to say about how good this movie is.
It's a real good starter kit to his backlog.
No, I don't think it is. I think if you watch this and then went into his backlog, you'd probably get a little bit lost. I think this is is the most popular film he has made.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But okay, yes, I could totally see it. You're gonna split hard.
Yeah.
You're either gonna fall in love with it and want more of it and more intense, more concentrated versions of it, or you're gonna be like, this is cool. Then what is this?
Yeah.
So
I don't think anyone's gonna go from The Favorite to Dogtooth and go, oh, I get it.
But sometimes you think of it like as doses, right? Like you can't get high.
Just think about it from your point of view. If you recommend,
I'm in the other camp because
But if you recommended someone The Favorite and then said, they said, I love this, and then said, should I watch The Lobster? What are you going to say to them?
It depends on the person, to be honest.
But what are you going to say to them? Like someone who
depends on the person.
Okay, someone who's never seen Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yep.
Loves The Favorite. Says to you, the movie podcast guy, should I see The Lobster? What are you going to say to them?
I say, yeah, but you might hate the ending.
Okay.
Because again, you can't. The exercise of saying what do you say to someone about this movie is irrelevant because people are all different. Like
I guess what I'm saying here is that someone has said to you, "I like this movie."
It is a person I have no connection with. So I don't know their personality at all. This is a rando stranger on the street that stops me, and I'm wearing my They Live glasses.
Oh, you're wearing an Only Podcast About Movies T-shirt,
which
and they say,
do not exist.
I really like The Favorite. I've heard he made some other movies. Should I go see The Lobster?
And I would say, what about The Favorite did you like?
Right.
And then we'd get into a small conversation.
I
could not, in good faith, if what you're reaching for is, I could not, in good faith, say, absolutely go see his other stuff. You'll love it because it's not going to happen.
And that's what I mean by saying it's not a good starter kit for Yorgos Lanthimos. It is the ender kit, in my opinion.
But it's also. It's like testing the waters. It's like seeing if you're going to like it and knowing, like, that's the thing. Like, you could take it from a negative perspective of, no, this is the most accessible, so they're probably not going to like it. Or it might open up something inside of them that they didn't even know was existing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Favorite's a great movie.
Okay, and your number 3.
My number 3 is Won't You Be My Neighbor.
Good choice. That was a film I regretted not putting on my list.
Holy shit. That I don't think I've cried as much in a movie theater as I did when watching that movie. And I don't know if it's again, it's obviously well crafted and done in the vein of who I believe Fred Rogers was. But it's the film that I felt like this year was the film that was needed the most. It was a documentary about Mr. Rogers, so obviously it's not going to permeate the something like Spider-Verse, even The Favorite or other sort of Oscar non-type things. But in 2018 was a rough year. And here is a doc of a man who I don't know if we'll ever get someone ever like him again. And it helped sort of show what the best type of person could be.
Right.
In a very hopeful and non-cynical way.
Right.
And I think it was a really magical movie-going experience. I loved it to death. And that's it. I mean, I would, if random person on the street said, should I go see Won't You Be My Neighbor? I would say absolutely. I got into a fight
without knowing them.
Yeah, I got into a fight with my father actually because he made like a Mr. Rogers joke, and I was like, no.
What was the joke? You were offended by the joke?
It was something because, like, again, people who are tertiarily connected with Mr. Rogers only know him as the soft-spoken person who, like, loved kids. And you can turn that dark real quick, especially in 2018. And I forget what my father made, like, an offhanded comment about something along those lines. And I was like, you haven't seen the fucking movie. Right. You don't know anything about Fred Rogers' life. Come back to me once you've seen it. Right. And we got into a mini argument about that, but I don't think he's
right.
Anywho.
Yeah, no, I think I liked Mr. Rogers more than I loved the documentary, I think is the only thing I would say about that. But it's an extraordinary story. I think the story of him and his assistant, or the postman, sitting around the pool and dipping their feet in the pool in response to like segregation around waters and swimming pool. I think is just that's beautiful.
And I always forget literally the breadth of work that fucking man did. It's intense.
And I've tried to get my son to watch Mr. Rogers. It's not going that well.
It's slow.
But I love watching them.
Yeah.
So that's been an interesting one for me. So far, I'm 0 from 3.
Oh, I'm 0 from 3 too. Okay. So we're okay. Shahir, your number 2.
My number 2 is Roma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing that you probably would have guessed that one, right?
I don't want to reveal my stuff yet.
Yeah, but that is look, Alfonso. I feel like basically when you get to this stage of the list, you're just gushing the whole way through about just great cinema, and Roma was just one of those experiences that was entirely transformative for me. Again, just from a technical point of view, talking about how I think he created one of the most immersive experiences in the cinema by using sound so effectively. I managed to see the film in Dolby Atmos, but the more I think about. I'm going to refer to her as Lebo, which is the person that he is making the film about, which is Alfonso Cuarón making a film about his nanny growing up. The more I think about her story in this film, the happier it makes me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And there's a there's a wonderful video of her, of the actress receiving her Oscar nomination, and it just made me smile from ear to ear. Alfonso Cuarón is that rare breed of filmmaker who is technically the greatest filmmaker alive. In terms of his technical ability, but also makes profoundly human stories that touch deeply, like he's making personal cinema. And there's just not a lot of those kinds of people around, and they should be treasured and celebrated. And I could easily see this winning Best Picture. I absolutely love this film.
And that'd be a Netflix Best Picture if that's the case.
I absolutely adore this film. I've watched it twice now. I will watch it again many times over. You know what's odd about it is I don't think it's actually my favorite Alfonso Cuarón film, but it's certainly one of my favorite films this year. Just just so humanistic, so life affirming.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it did take over the N in Netflix,
yeah.
which I don't know if I've ever seen another film.
I mean, if I was Netflix, I think they must have known this. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
to get Alfonso Cuarón to make a film on Netflix, you know, again, they managed to get a few filmmakers. Paul Greengrass made a film on Netflix. The Coen brothers made a film on Netflix. But to get, you know, Alfonso Cuarón basically doing the other thing is, you never feel like Alfonso Cuarón is slumming it. You know, like he's not.
That's the thing, though. And again, we go back to our trends. Netflix is no longer slumming it. Yes, you have some holdouts, but not that many. Who? Christopher Nolan? Like, who else has said they won't make a film for Netflix?
Right. Yeah.
I can't think of any. Scorsese's been working on a film for Netflix for like 2 years.
Right.
Like, this is where it's going, whether you like it or not. So, like, I don't think it. I mean, I think 3 years ago it would have been crazy.
Yeah.
But now, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2 film. Matt, your number 2.
My number 2. I went back and forth. This was actually much lower on my list previously, and then not that I've adjusted since we've started. I said last night when I was like playing with all of them, moving the tiles
So you can
around.
move them around.
Yeah, Minority Reporting all over the place.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to lock this in. The more I thought about it and the reasons why it was above or below other films really clicked in for me. I would just have to say Wakanda Forever. Black Panther, again, early entry. Not thematically, but from a chronological standpoint, around the same time as Death of Stalin, or beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Black Panther checked a million boxes for me. It was obviously an important cultural event. It again did a lot of sort of what Spider-Verse did, but not doing it in a way that while Spider-Verse lets anyone know that anyone can be Spider-Man, this is a particularly an African hero. Like, it's straight up through and through. And that is phenomenal in this very homogenized world that I admittedly love of superheroes, but like, it was a breath of fresh air. It did all of the tropes that I love, but with a different culture, and gave us a glimpse at what could have happened in history had colonialism not destroyed everything.
Right.
And plus, it's got the action sequences, especially in the casino. I'm always a fan of the smaller action sequences in the superhero films. The big ones are spectacles, of course, but that was always amazing, and it's amazing. Ryan Coogler did a breakdown of that scene and like the color dynamics, and you can sort of see
the Vanity Fair piece.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It was marvelous. I knew I'd like it, but I didn't know I'd love it as much as I did. And I did hear there's a rumor now that, sorry, I'm going off into speculation, but that Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan, might be returning.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I it's an amazing character, and I would obviously love him to be in the film, but I don't know. Again, that's a narrative question. We'd have to see how it does.
Yeah.
I find in comic books, when they have a powerful villain, emotionally resonant, that is killed, and then they bring them back a year later, I find the death of that villain, it cheapens sort of everything else. So maybe there's a way to get around it. I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's like they did with old Liam Neeson in The Dark Knight Rises. He pops up for a flashback and then disappears again.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that.
Yep.
How do I feel about Black Panther? Like I said at the time, there's no denying the cultural importance of that film, and what it did and how it spoke to a generation and allowed an entire generation into that world. I think, for me, and this is personal opinion, obviously, is I think the film is more of the same of what I've seen before, but I did like Killmonger as a villain. I think the film like really geared into place when we found out what Killmonger wanted and what what he stood for. He's one of those rare villains that has an idea about the world that you could understand.
Sure.
So I really did like that. And whenever you see for example, the cast won the SAG award recently.
Yeah.
And Chadwick Boseman's speech about the importance of being here. You can't deny that. I think just from a film thing, it's not quite my jam, but
right,
but,
and that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
I for all of that, as you sort of see that, I mean, it's just because it's not your the style of it is not something that you are particularly a fan of.
I will just just to counterpoint that though. Into the Spider-Verse is not necessarily my jam, but that was a film that I kind of really responded to. Yeah.
What I like about this and why I think it resonated so strongly with me is that it is all of the things that I like plus all of the stuff that I think elevates it.
Yeah.
And that is why it's my number 2.
There you go.
So now we got one more listener.
One more listener, number 1. I
Yeah.
think, and I've heard this, so I'm going to guess that this person is completely in line with you.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong about that. I could be 100% wrong about that.
All right, Jonathan the Blade.
Here's the Blade.
Let's do it.
Hello, Matt and Shahir. This is Jonathan Blade, and my film of the year is Infinity War. So I know that Shahir won't be fully on board with the metric that I'm using because Infinity War reaches its heights on the shoulders of other films. By itself, it isn't even the best comic book film this year, but Infinity War doesn't stand alone. It is the penultimate fulfillment of a corporate promise of quality, continuity, and consistency. And to achieve the wonders of well-paced epic spectacle, coherent thread weaving, and to create a convincing three-dimensional antagonist? Look, this is not what compels me to watch film, but it is what compels me to watch film in the theater. The MCU is opulent TV, and I still love it. Gentlemen, thank you for the good work that you do.
Thank you, Jonathan Blade, for the good work that you do. Oh, yeah, that was loud.
Ow! I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
I think you should go with your number 1.
I mean, it's Infinity War. It's fucking Infinity War. How could it not be Infinity War? Everything Jonathan just said, 100%.
Right.
However, no, you know what? I'll go 99%. The one caveat, now all of the positives he said, 100%. But the one caveat I gave it, even when we saw it, is the reason it's so good is they haven't had to stick the landing yet. Well, it is at this point, the penultimate thing, that promise that he describes, that I am so I've watched Infinity War 20 times.
20?
Probably.
This might be why you haven't seen some of the other films that
but a lot of times I have it on in the background or if I'm doing something. Do you know what I mean? Like I've watched it actively maybe like 6 or 7.
I rewatched it.
I am so in love with not only the story that it's telling, the Thanos arc, everything, but just the sheer, I could nerd out about it on the comic book level, but I can nerd out about it on the film craft and actually, honestly, the producerial level, because it is a thing that has never been done.
Yeah.
It's been proven in my other stuff that so far, no one else has been able to do it.
Yeah.
Of course, someone eventually will, but at this point, having a connective cinematic universe of a consistent quality, as Jonathan said, and engagement, if that is your jam.
Okay.
And to do it with things that are both films that are both formulaic, but then some that sort of buck the trends, and then also just wrapping them all up in this one thing. It's just never been done, and every time I see it, I notice something new, and I could honestly discuss it forever. I mean, this was a surprise to no one. I'm sure that was on your list for my number 1. But we'll see. So Shahir, this is something that I'm very curious about.
Have you figured out what my number 1 is?
So I kind of.
Okay.
Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think. Well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But what is your number 1 film of 2018?
My number 1 film of 2018 is Hereditary.
Okay, didn't get it. Okay.
My Hereditary, I think, I don't know how to describe seeing it in the movie theater, but so this is the point where it becomes personal as opposed to as seemingly trying to be objective as we try to do sometimes on this podcast. But there are certain film narratives that connect with me personally, and I think I tend to I tend to like films that challenge your worldview in unconventional ways. And this is Hereditary, Ari Aster's debut film, is a film that goes the distance in terms of proving that the world can be terrible. And I don't know what it is about that, but I find that so incredible that he was able to do that on his debut film with as much technical mastery and story mastery as he was able to do. The thematic connection to the terror that is in this movie is unparalleled, and I think it has one of the best performances of the year from Toni Collette as well. It's just again, I expect the kind of the level of work from Alfonso Cuarón. I expect that level of work from Yorgos Lanthimos. To get this from a first-time filmmaker, and I think from the producerial point of view that you were kind of mentioning, I think to give the filmmaker the tools that they need in order to craft this story that is not going to make people happy is something that I think is extraordinary. Like it is sort of an example of saying, like even the metaphor in this film, which is, Toni Collette making these miniature dolls, and then there's a miniature doll in the film, and that sort of reflects the house, and the house is actually built as well, which reflects this as like structured family in these divided spaces. All that stuff is like the kind of thing I can see if you don't have faith in your filmmaker, being like, couldn't we just shoot this in a house we could find, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And it's not. It's A24, who produced this film, just gives him everything he needs in order to tell the most compelling story he can with a multitude of layers.
Yeah.
It's so profoundly beautiful and terrifying and disturbing, and it does what horror films, I think, can and should do. So for me, Hereditary is number one with a bullet.
I definitely loved Hereditary, and I loved the way that it proved that the scariest things in a horror movie don't have to be the supernatural stuff. I mean, it was a great film. I think the only issue I think I ever had with it was from a structural standpoint. I think around the final third, the final act gets a little bit like things are going real quick and explanations stop happening, but that's obviously not the point. But I would be remiss to blame Hereditary to have that as an issue, because all supernatural horror has that issue, in my opinion. So it's not something, whatever. It elevates the form without question. And it was a great movie.
Yeah. So how did we do on our top three? What did you pick as my top three?
So your top three, as I had it, weirdly enough, and I don't know why, and I going back, I probably need to re-listen to our episode on this. I had your number 3 as Black Klansman.
Okay.
Then I had your number 2 at Leave No Trace.
Oh, that was a film I felt bad about leaving off my list.
And that number 1 was Roma.
So you got...
I got none of them correct. I only got one on the board.
We tied.
No, we didn't. So what did you say? Well, maybe we did.
No, we did tie, because my number 3 for you was The Favorite, which did appear on your list.
Yep.
All of mine appeared on your list.
Okay.
The Favorite, my number 2 for you was Avengers Infinity War, and my number 1 for you was Spider-Verse.
I would honestly give it to you, because yours are at least on 2 of these aren't even on your list.
3, what was it? Leave
Roma.
No Trace.
Roma was the number 1, even though it was your number 2.
Yeah.
I would honestly give this bet to you. We both didn't do great, but if we're going down the list of how sort of whatever, I will.
Well, no. How does your scoring system work? Because
none of us would have technically scored.
Oh, right. Okay.
We should have put in different things, like if it's on the list, if it's whatever, but we didn't.
Right.
So I will give you one crisp American.
Wait, don't you owe me another one for?
I gave you that one.
No, you didn't.
I 100% did.
I don't remember.
I think I did it on the podcast. The next one.
Oh man, this is exactly an example of your memory, because we should go back and listen to that.
Go back
episode.
and listen to it.
I don't believe I got that dollar from you. I believe I would have just said don't worry about it, and I don't believe you even offered it. But this is the first time you offered it. You should go back.
I'll give you another $1 just so we can put it to bed.
I don't want your dollars.
$2.
I think this should be a running tab between us that we can just.
Then you can save those dollars and give them back to me if I ever get one right.
Yeah. 2018, a very in the words of Ridley Scott's film, a very good year.
Yeah, and a very expensive one for me personally. I just lost $2.
$2 whole.
Anywho, this has been the only podcast about our 2018 top 10 films of 2018.
And if you have some more contributions, if you want to debate us, if you want to come at us, bruh, hit us up at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter at onlymoviepod.
You can also leave us all of the stars.
That's not how that song goes.
No, I didn't. That wasn't the Black Panther song. I was being Revenant from Resident Evil because when he's chasing the military people named Stars. Resident Evil 2 just had a remake.
I know, but was that related to the conversation we were just having?
No, but he goes Stars. My brain is a herd of cats. Just let it happen.
Just running in every direction.
Please give us all the stars on iTunes whenever you have a free moment.
And I guess we're gonna resume our normal programming from next week. A couple of films. I'm gonna be out of town, but we're still recording a couple of episodes in advance of that.
Yep.
But
we might even try to Ekin an Oscars thing while you're gone, though I'm not sure. No promises.
No promises.
It'll be there.
I'm sure we'll have some hot takes on the Oscars at some point. Yeah. We'll see. I guess at this point, in terms of if you want to try and win those dollars back. We've got a horse in Best Picture now, right? Like you've got Black Panther in Best Picture, and I've got Roma. So,
but we can't if both of them don't win. If fucking Bohemian Rhapsody wins.
Oh my God. Okay, 2018 will officially have been the worst timeline if Bohemian Rhapsody.
I
can see Green Book winning.
Oh yeah,
I can
100%.
I could see that winning.
It's chemically man-made to win.
But if Bohemian Rhapsody wins, we are officially in the worst timeline. What is it? What
Green Book is Deflategate for the Oscars.
Right. And Bohemian Rhapsody is what?
Just a crash.
Yeah. So let's not crash into 2019, even though it's already February. Matt, I guess we'll see you soon. Where can people find you when you are not herding cats in your brain?
Meow at MatthewKroll.com. That's MatthewKroll.com for my life and works. Also Skeletor, the number 4, PREZ on Instagram, or Emperor MSK on Twitter. Also check out all of the wonderful work the Extra Credits crew and myself do at Extra Credits on YouTube. Shahir, when you are not winning all of my coffee money, where can folks find you?
I don't know if you can get coffee that cheap, but you can.
You don't know where I get coffee.
You can find me on my website, www.shahirdaud.com. Go there, write meow, and you will find a lot of content about stuff I do. This is okay. I guess the top 10 rounds out the year, right? Now we're starting afresh.
We rounded out the year, recording this on February 1st.
Yeah, it's tax year, right? Like we go by tax year.
Yeah, we go by tax. Ooh, we got to add that to the rules.
Yeah, tax years. All right, Matt. All right. We'll see you soon.
Later.
Bye.